You did everything right. You ordered the expensive saplings from the glossy catalog. You hauled in bags of compost, mixed in coconut coir, checked the drainage twice, mulched on schedule like the YouTube experts told you to. And still, season after season, you watch your trees struggle. Leaves curl. Fruit never comes. Branches die back before winter. Then you walk into the garden center and they blame your dirt. Too heavy, too sandy, too rocky, too wet, too dry. Sell you another amendment, another test kit, another bag of something. Here's what they won't tell you. For thousands of years, entire villages survived on land that would fail every modern soil test. Anatolian farmers terraced slate into orchards. Andean families grew fruit in volcanic grit. Nobody tested anything. Nobody amended anything. The trees just worked. One of those trees, number 3 on today's list, rode west in covered wagons. Settlers planted it on nearly every homestead from the Ozarks to the Cascades. It fruits where everything else gives up. Welcome back to the channel. Hit subscribe, drop your specific soil problem in the comments, and let's count down from very good to downright unbelievable. Number 13. The mulberry, the universal survivor. Your great-grandparents probably had one in the yard and never thought twice about it. That's the tragedy of the mulberry. It's so easy, we forgot to respect it. This tree does not care about your soil. Swampy bottom land where water sits for weeks after a storm? Fine. Loose sand that drains faster than you can pour water on it? Also fine. Clay that cracks open in August? The mulberry shrugs. Here's the part that stops people. A single mature mulberry can drop 50 to 100 pounds of fruit in one season. Fruit that tastes somewhere between a blackberry and honey, that ripens over 6 full weeks, that feeds you, the birds, the chickens, and still leaves enough to freeze for winter smoothies. Plant one this spring and you'll have fruit in 2 or 3 years. No pollinator needed for most varieties. No spraying. No pruning required to get a crop. If you've got a problem corner of the yard, the wet spot, the sandy slope, the place where nothing else lived, this is where you start. Full stop. Number 12. The fig, the medieval survivor. Figs built civilizations. The Romans carried them across Europe. Monks planted them in stone courtyards where the soil was barely more than crushed limestone and mortar dust. And here's the secret nobody tells you at the nursery. Figs taste better when they suffer. Rich, pampered soil gives you a bland fig. Thin, rocky, alkaline ground, the kind that makes other fruit trees sulk, gives you syrupy, jammy fruit that tastes like dessert. Stress concentrates the sugar. The plant, sensing hard times, pours everything into seed survival. You eat the result. Modern cold-hardy varieties now survive into Zone 6 with simple winter protection. Chicago Hardy, Brown Turkey, Celeste. First fruit in year 2. 2 crops a year in warm climates. If your soil is thin over limestone or you've got a hot wall that bakes all summer, plant a fig there. You're not fighting the conditions. You're using them. Number 11. The prickly pear, the desert provider. Yes, it's a cactus. Yes, it fruits. And yes, the fruit is extraordinary. Magenta flesh that tastes like watermelon crossed with bubble gum, loaded with vitamin C and those deep red antioxidants everyone's paying $10 a bottle for. Mexico has eaten this plant for 4,000 years. The pads as a vegetable, the fruit fresh or made into syrup, the whole plant is living fence. The prickly pear grows in salty caliche soil that would kill a tomato in a week. It handles drought so severe that other desert plants go dormant. It fruits in the 2nd or 3rd year from a pad simply pressed into the ground. If you're in the Southwest or anywhere with alkaline sand and brutal summers, this isn't a compromise plant. This is the right plant. Number 10. The jujube, the Chinese date. Persian caravans carried jujube pits across the Silk Road. Chinese families have grown this tree for 4,000 years, and there's a reason. It produces in conditions that insult every other fruit tree on Earth. Alkaline soil with a pH of 8.5? The jujube yawns. Summers with 0 rainfall for 3 months? It keeps fruiting. Winter lows of -20? Most varieties shrug it off. The fruit looks like a small apple when fresh. Crisp, sweet, a little bit like a date crossed with a pear. Let it dry on the tree and it becomes a genuine date substitute, wrinkled and chewy and intensely sweet. First crop comes in year 2 or 3, sometimes even the 1st year. Most varieties are self-fertile. No spraying needed. Almost nothing bothers a jujube. If you live where the ground is hard, white with mineral crust, and the sun is merciless, this tree was made for you. Number 9. The pawpaw, the forest secret. North America's largest native fruit. A creamy, custardy thing that tastes like mango and banana had a tropical child and left it on the forest floor. And almost nobody grows it, not because it's hard, Because the nursery industry can't ship it well. The fruit bruises in 3 days, so the supermarkets don't stock it, so people don't know it exists. Meanwhile, the pawpaw thrives exactly where you're told fruit trees can't grow: wet, acidic bottomland along creeks and rivers. The kind of ground that stays soggy in spring and sour year-round. That's pawpaw country. That's where settlers found them growing wild, in thickets so dense you couldn't walk through. You need 2 different varieties for pollination. First fruit typically comes in year 4 or 5. But once established, a pawpaw patch feeds you for a lifetime and spreads itself through root suckers. If you have a shaded, damp spot along a fence line or drainage, the kind of place every other fruit tree has failed, plant pawpaws. Number 8. The elderberry, the medicine cabinet. Your grandmother probably knew about elderberry syrup. The rest of the world is finally catching up. This plant has become a superfood shelf superstar with prices to match. $20 for a small bottle of syrup, $15 for a bag of dried berries, and the plant itself grows like a weed in the wet, boggy corner of your yard that nothing else tolerates. Elderberry wants its feet damp. It wants heavy soil that holds moisture. It wants the low spot behind the shed where water pools after every rain. Give it those conditions and in 3 years you'll have a 10-foot shrub dropping pounds of dark purple berries, loaded with immune-boosting compounds that the supplement industry charges you through the nose for. 2 varieties for best fruiting. Birds love it, so plan accordingly. Netting helps. The flowers themselves make a legendary cordial before the berries ever form. That swampy eyesore you've been trying to drain for years? Stop fighting it. Plant elderberry. Harvest money. Quick pause before we keep going. If this list is useful to you so far, hit that subscribe button. This channel is built on one idea: that the old ways of growing food, on the land you actually have, still work. Drop a comment telling me exactly what your soil is like. Heavy clay, sand, rock, swamp, desert. I read everyone, and it shapes what comes next on this channel. Now, the next 6 trees are where this gets genuinely strange. History forgot some of them on purpose. One of them fruits before the last frost is even a memory. One of them was on every medieval dinner table in Europe and has vanished from ours completely. And number 3, the covered wagon tree from the intro, is about to make sense. Number 7, the service berry, the first berry of the year, before the strawberries are ready. Before the blueberries even think about ripening. While most of your garden is still just green leaves and promises, the service berry is already dropping fruit into your hand. Native tribes across North America timed entire migrations around this tree. The Cree called its ripening moon the berry moon. Lewis and Clark survived on service berries when their supplies ran out crossing the Rockies. The taste sits somewhere between a blueberry and an almond. Sweet, with a faint nutty finish from the soft seeds inside. Unlike blueberries, which demand acidic soil and sulk if you get the pH wrong by half a point, service berries grow in thin, rocky ground that would make a blueberry die of shock. The tree itself is small, 15, maybe 20 feet. White flowers in early spring, copper-orange leaves in fall, gray bark through winter. It looks beautiful in every season, which is why landscapers plant it. And then the landscapers' clients are stunned to learn the ornamental tree in their front yard is actually dropping 100 pounds of expensive berries every June. First fruit in year 3. Self-fertile. No pests worth mentioning. If your ground is rocky, slightly acidic, and the pH meter gave you a number you didn't like, plant a service berry. You'll be eating fruit before anyone else on your street. Number 6. The quince. The orchard time forgot. There was an age when every farmhouse in Europe and America had a quince tree by the kitchen door. The fruit was the foundation of every jam, every jelly, every preserve. The word marmalade originally meant quince paste, not orange. Then supermarket logistics happened. Quince bruises. Quince needs cooking to unlock its flavor. Quince doesn't fit the modern demand for eat-it-in-the-car convenience. So the industry dropped it, and within 2 generations, most people had never seen one. Which is a shame, because the quince thrives in exactly the soil most fruit trees hate: wet, heavy clay that holds water like a bathtub. The kind of ground where apples develop root rot and pears give up. A ripe quince is the size of a large pear, golden yellow, covered in soft fuzz, and smells like a cross between apple, pineapple, and rose petals. You cannot eat it raw. It's hard and astringent. But cooked, it turns deep pink, releases honey-like syrup, and makes the greatest jelly you have ever tasted. Most varieties are self-fertile. First fruit in year 3 or 4. The trees live 60 years and barely need pruning. If your backyard is heavy wet clay, the ground everyone tells you is useless for fruit, the quince is waiting for you. Number 5. The medlar. The Shakespeare fruit. This one sounds made up. It isn't. Shakespeare mentioned it. Chaucer mentioned it. It was on the tables of medieval kings and peasants alike for 1,000 years, and then it disappeared so completely that most people today have never heard the word. The medlar is a small tree that produces a strange brown fruit the size of a walnut. Here's the catch, and the reason the modern world forgot it: you cannot eat a medlar when it's ripe. You have to wait until it looks rotten. This process is called bledding. You pick the fruit hard in late autumn, spread it on a tray, and wait 3 or 4 weeks for the flesh to go soft and brown inside. Then you scoop it out with a spoon, and it tastes like spiced apple butter, cinnamon and date and caramel, all without any sugar added. The tree itself is almost supernaturally tough. It prefers heavy clay soil. It handles cold down to -15 or 20. It shrugs off pests because almost nothing recognizes the fruit as food. Self-fertile. First harvest in year 4. A mature tree gives you enough fruit to preserve for the entire winter. If you want to grow something your neighbors have genuinely never seen before, something with 1,000 years of forgotten history, plant a medlar. Number 4. The Cornelian cherry, the city fighter. Not actually a cherry. It's a type of dogwood, which is why you walk past hundreds of them every year in city parks and have no idea they're producing food. The Cornelian cherry evolved in the Balkans and the Caucasus, where the soil is often compacted, poor, and abused. It found its modern calling in urban plantings. It's one of the few fruit trees that will grow in hard-packed ground next to sidewalks, under streetlights, breathing exhaust fumes, and still crop heavily every single year. The fruit is bright red, elongated like a small olive, and tastes tart and sharp, somewhere between sour cherry and cranberry. Turkish and Iranian kitchens have used it for centuries in savory stews, syrups, and fermented drinks. Early yellow flowers in February or March, before forsythia, before anything else is blooming. That alone makes it worth planting. 2 trees for reliable pollination. First fruit in year 4 or 5. The trees live for 100 years and barely ever need attention. If your soil is the compacted, dead, urban-style ground everyone writes off as hopeless, this is your tree. Number 3. The sea buckthorn, the soil repairman. Here's a plant that does something almost magical. It pulls nitrogen out of the air and fixes it into the ground through its roots. Plant sea buckthorn on dead sand, and within 5 years, the soil around it is measurably richer than when you started. And that sand can be the worst stuff imaginable. Coastal dunes where salt spray kills everything. Roadside gravel laced with winter salt. Glacial till so poor nothing else colonizes it. Sea buckthorn takes it all and turns it into orchard. The berries themselves are a neon orange miracle. 15 times more vitamin C than an orange. The oil from the seeds sells for absurd prices in the cosmetics industry. The Russian space program gave sea buckthorn juice to cosmonauts. Flavor is intensely sharp. Think passion fruit crossed with pineapple, with enough acid to make your eyes water. Almost nobody eats them fresh. They become juice, syrup, oil, or frozen puree. You need a male plant for every 6 or 7 females. First fruit in year 3 or 4. The shrubs get thorny, which is either a feature, natural fence, or a nuisance depending on your yard. If you live near the coast or on that hopeless strip of sand along the driveway, sea buckthorn turns your worst ground into your most valuable. Number 2. The American persimmon, the pioneer tree. Here it is, the tree from the beginning of this video. The covered wagon tree. Settlers pushing west from the Appalachians into the Ozarks, then over the Rockies to the Cascades, carried persimmon seeds in their pockets. They planted them at every homestead because they already knew this tree grows where nothing else will. Its taproot drills straight down through dry, compacted rocky clay, 12, 15 feet deep. It finds water nobody else can reach. It finds minerals locked in layers other trees cannot access. Once established, a persimmon tree is essentially indestructible. The fruit is a revelation. Wait until after the first frost. The fruit wrinkles, turns jelly soft, and transforms into pure caramel. Pudding sweet, unlike anything else that grows on this continent. 2 trees needed. First fruit in year 5 to 7. The slow one on this list, but worth every year of waiting. Dry, rocky, compacted ground. This is your tree. And now, number 1. Number 1. The olive, the eternal provider. Picture this, a Greek hillside. The soil, if you can even call it that, is fractured limestone, dust, and broken rock. You could walk across it and not find enough loose earth to fill a coffee cup. There's no rain from May to September. The summer sun cooks the stones until they're hot to the touch at midnight. And growing out of that wreckage is an olive tree that was already ancient when the Roman Empire fell. 2,000 years old, still fruiting. Still feeding the family that tends it, just as it fed their ancestors 60 generations back. That is not a metaphor. That is a living, documented reality on dozens of Mediterranean hillsides right now. There are olive trees on Crete that archaeologists have dated beyond 3,000 years. They still drop fruit every autumn. Think about what that means. Everything you've been told about soil, that it needs compost, that it needs amendments, that it needs the right pH, that it needs to be improved. And here's a tree that has been feeding humans for 3,000 years on cracked stone. Why does the olive win the top spot? Because it doesn't just tolerate bad ground, it requires it. Plant an olive in rich, dark, loamy soil, the kind of soil the garden center tells you every fruit tree needs, and you get a leafy, vigorous tree that produces almost no fruit. The tree has no reason to make olives. It's comfortable, it's thriving, it's wasting its energy on green growth nobody can eat. Plant that same olive on broken limestone, on thin alkaline dust, on a slope so rocky you can barely stand on it, and the tree, sensing that conditions are hard, pours everything into fruit, into seeds, into survival. The harder the ground, the better the olive oil. 6,000 years of human civilization have been built on this one principle. Greek, Roman, Phoenician, Egyptian, Berber. Entire cultures were fed, lit, and healed by a tree that only works if you stop trying to help it. And here's the part that changes everything for people watching this video in colder climates. The olive is no longer just a Mediterranean tree. Arbequina, Mission, Francio, Koroniki. Cold hardy varieties now survive winters down to Zone 7, sometimes Zone 6 with wall protection. Growers in Georgia, in Texas, in coastal Oregon, in the warmer parts of Virginia are producing real olive oil from their own trees. Small backyard presses, the size of a stand mixer, let you turn a single afternoon's harvest into a year's supply of oil for your kitchen. Some varieties are partially self-fertile. Most do better with a partner. First fruit in year 3 or 4, a real harvest by year 6. And then, if you treat it right, which means mostly leaving it alone, the tree will outlive you, your children, and your grandchildren. That is the final argument. Now step back with me for a moment. Look at the whole list. 13 trees. 13 plants that have fed entire civilizations on ground that modern agriculture considers unusable. Mulberries in the swamps, figs on the limestone, prickly pear on salted caliche, jujubes on alkaline hardpan, pawpaws on sour bottomland, elderberries in the bog, serviceberries on thin rock, quince in wet clay, medlars on cold, heavy ground, cornelian cherries in compacted urban dirt, sea buckthorn on dead sand, American persimmons in rocky hardpan, olives on broken stone. Not one of these trees needs the products sold at the garden center. Not one of them needs a soil test kit. Not one of them cares about your pH meter reading. And yet an entire industry has built itself on convincing you that your land is broken, that you need amendments, conditioners, blended compost with a brand name, mycorrhizal inoculants, slow-release pellets, drip irrigation, raised beds to escape the soil you already own. Meanwhile, your great-great-grandparents grew food on that same land with none of it. Their parents did. Their grandparents did. Going back further than written records, humans fed themselves on exactly the kind of ground you're standing on right now. The lesson from this video is one sentence. Write it on a sticky note if you need to. Don't fix your soil. Plant what was born for it. That's the whole secret. That's what the nursery industry will never tell you, because there's no profit in it. You cannot sell a person a bag of miracle amendment if they've already planted a tree that doesn't need one. Your ancestors didn't have a pH meter. They didn't have a tensiometer. They didn't have a soil lab an hour's drive away. They had observation, memory, and the humility to plant what the land wanted instead of forcing the land to grow what they wanted. That's the move. That's the entire move. So here's your next step. Not someday. This planting season. Walk out to the problem spot. The corner where nothing has worked. The slope that bakes. The low ground that stays wet. The compacted strip along the driveway. The rocky patch behind the shed. Look at it honestly. What is it really? Heavy wet clay? Plant quince or medlar? Sandy and dry? Mulberry or jujube? Boggy? Elderberry or pawpaw? Salty coastal sand? Sea buckthorn? Thin rocky alkaline ground? Fig or olive? Compacted urban dirt? Cornelian cherry? Hard rocky hardpan? American persimmon? Desert caliche? Prickly pear or jujube? Pick one, maybe two. Order them this winter while the nurseries still have inventory. The good varieties sell out fast once word spreads. Plant them in early spring, exactly in the spot where every other tree has failed you. Then do the hardest thing of all. Leave them alone. Don't feed them. Don't pamper them. Don't dig in amendments. Water them the first summer, and then trust the tree to know what it's doing. Because it does. It is known for thousands of years. In 3 to 5 years, you will be picking fruit from the exact piece of ground everyone told you was useless. And that fruit will taste better than anything you buy at the store, because it grew under exactly the stress it was designed to turn into flavor. That's not a promise from me. That's a promise from 6,000 years of human history. One last thing before you go. If anything in this video shifted how you think about your land, hit that subscribe button right now. The whole point of this channel is to give you back the knowledge the garden industry has been hiding. There's no sponsor telling me what to say, no affiliate links to soil products. Just the old ways, the tested ways, the ways that worked long before any of us were born. In the comments, tell me 2 things. First, what does your soil look like? Clay, sand, rock, swamp, desert, salt, acid, alkaline? Be specific. Second, which tree on this list are you going to try first? I read every single comment. The most common problems become the next videos on this channel. Your question might shape what thousands of other people plant next season. Thank you for watching. Now go outside, look at your worst patch of ground, and start imagining what it's going to grow.